Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the You Deserve Better podcast. If you are listening to this particular episode, I'm gonna guess that you might be in that place where you know that the relationship is definitely over, it is clear, and maybe you even know that it wasn't healthy or aligned, that it was the best thing for it to have actually ended. But still, you might find yourself thinking about them every single day. Whether you like it or not, they're going to come up at some point or another throughout the day. Every single thing reminds you of them. You know, maybe you are still checking their social media, looking at their stories, what pictures they've been tagged in. Maybe you are replaying all those old conversations in your head, the things that they said to you, how much you meant to them, how much they would love you forever and ever. Amen. All those beautiful experiences that you've had, the memories that you've made, and maybe as well, you're sat there whilst you're there thinking about them, you're wondering if they're thinking about you as well. So first of all, it is super important for me to say to you right now that you're not crazy, you're not weak, you're not broken. These are all totally normal feelings and emotions to be experiencing after the end of a relationship. You know, I would almost find it bizarre if you wasn't thinking some of these things, you know, it's completely understandable. Today, we're actually going to talk in more detail about why you are struggling to let them go, even if you are desperately wanting to, and what you can actually do about that. Because whether it's been a couple of days, a couple of months, or even a year, I intend that this episode helps you get out of that funk of clinging onto them, desperately thinking about them non-stop, and being unable to move on. I'm hoping by the end of this episode today that you will actually understand the 3 main reasons as to why we can stay emotionally stuck. How our brain keeps us hooked on an ex, almost like an addiction. And what we can actually start doing today in order to break that cycle. So this is going to be very, very honest, and actually it could even be a little bit confronting for you, but ultimately it will be so empowering. This is the episode that you need to hear if you are still clinging onto your ex, if you are thinking about them day in, day out, if you are wondering if they're thinking about you too. This is the episode for you. So get comfy because we're going to dive right on in there. However, before I do move on into this episode, I will point out, if you did choose him for a reason, if this is something that you are struggling with, my masterclass is coming up at the end of the month. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, You Deserve Better Podcast, because I will have all the details on there. It will be group coaching alongside other women who are struggling the same, with me as your guide. We are going right on deep in there. And the sole purpose of this masterclass is to help you in moving on from your ex in 30 days or less. With that, it's removing all of this obsessing over them, thinking about them, all the shoulda, woulda, couldas and what ifs. If you need help in stopping obsessing over your ex, this masterclass is for you. And I am here for you, supporting you through that wholeheartedly, and with other women by your side as well who are going through the same struggles. So all together, you will feel so empowered, so freaking motivated to get back to yourselves and ready to power on through and release that ex all together, because that is so important. You deserve to feel at peace in yourself. You deserve to feel excited for your future. You deserve the absolute best, not be reliving the past again and again. If this interests you, my masterclass is 100% for you. Please, again, reach out to me in the DMs on You Deserve Better Podcast, and I will send you the link to get signed up to that masterclass. And together we'll change your life. Okay, so first of all, we're going to start off with a little myth. Because one of the most hurtful things that people can say when you are going through a breakup is, well, just move on. As if moving on is just like some switch that you can flip. in the back of your mind, like, click, okay, I'm healed, all is well now. It's not that easy, is it? We all know that. The truth is, breakups are not just about losing another person. It's actually more about losing part of your identity, and often that is the hardest part. It's not the person that you particularly miss. It's the effect that person had upon you, and that is what we can struggle with the most. So you're not only grieving a relationship right now, you are grieving the version of yourself that you was when you was with them. You are grieving the dreams that you had built together with that person, and you are grieving, most importantly, and the thing that we struggle with, because it's that day in, day out, it's the routine, the habits, the daily micro connections with that person. And that is actually the hardest things. Like honestly, when I was with my ex, the one who I've spoken about many times, it was a very unhealthy relationship. This wasn't my husband, this was my last partner. Really unhealthy. I did not want to be with this guy, but the reason I couldn't pull away is because my life had somehow, even though I wasn't happy with it, revolved around him. The day in, day out little habits and routines that we had created. And that was what I was fearful of the most, the end of that, because sometimes, and I've said it before, staying in something that is uncomfortable can be easier than moving away from that comfort into the discomfort of something that could actually be so incredible. But because it's unknown, because it's unpredictable, we get fearful and we're scared, so we stay in the predictable comfort zone, which is actually making us incredibly unhappy. But we cannot see the light of the other side. We just know that it's uncomfortable, so we don't do it. So yeah, that's a really big one, that the routine, the habits, those day-to-day kind of connections that you have with this person, that is something that you are massively grieving and what you are struggling with the most, because life is so uncertain right now, unpredictable, and you can't see how things will ever get better, And this is why often, even when we know logically that a person isn't right for us, emotionally we still feel attached. So like I said before, I knew that this person wasn't right for me, but there was still an attachment. There was this connection that I could not pull away from emotionally. So if you are struggling to let go, please, please, please hear me when I say there is nothing wrong with you. You're just human. You are human, and that is why you're experiencing these feelings, thoughts, emotions, and this is why you are struggling to let them go. So, why are you still so obsessed? We can actually break this down into 3 of the most common reasons that we can get stuck. So have a listen to these and just to have a see which of these feels most true for you. Okay, I'm going to start off with reason 1, and that is unprocessed emotions. Okay, so maybe you've been trying to stay busy, because that's what we do, and we go for I'm just going to try and stay busy, keep my mind off things. We distract ourselves. Okay, whether that be through going out partying with the girls, whether that be jumping into dating or into someone else's bed. Okay, it's distraction, it's keeping us busy, convincing ourselves, I'm fine. Here's the thing though, you are suppressing your emotions. Those suppressed feelings, they're not going to disappear, they just simply wait. Unprocessed grief can then show up as overthinking, obsessive thoughts, nightmares even about your ex, emotional numbness. It can show up later. And for me personally, I remember after my breakup with my ex-husband, I thought I was over it. And that's because, and again, I've said this before, I went away to Iceland just after we broke up. Obviously not by choice on my own, but I did because it was something that was meant to be doing together. Then I quickly took on the mortgage on my own. I started a business. I went away to Greece for my 30th. I was doing all these exciting things. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm getting over him. And I actually, another reason I thought I was getting over him was because I'd stopped crying the same. I wasn't crying day in, day out. I didn't feel that I was grieving the same anymore. But in all honesty, with all the things that I was doing and the fact that I'd stopped crying anymore and feeling all these different feelings, it's because I was avoiding them. I was avoiding the feelings, and then they later came out as I've mentioned in the past, jealousy, envy towards other people. Whether it be an engagement announcement, a pregnancy announcement, something like that, someone having found a new partner, I was jealous. I really, really struggled with that. It came out as an anxiety within myself as to, well, what if I don't meet anyone again? What if this is it now? Do I even have time for a partner? Is this my life now? Am I stuck? What is going on? Feeling stuck in a job that I didn't like, with no partner. Like, what was actually my life now? There was a real anxiety over where I was at and what was my purpose in life and who even am I, So when you don't allow yourself to feel that sadness or the anger, the regret, or even the relief, because that does come up as well, and that's what came up with my ex that was unhealthy, there was a relief with that as well, as much as there was this fear of the unknown. And there was a lot of anger and sadness within that as well, but also there was a lot of relief. But if you don't allow yourself to feel all of these different feelings, to let them come up in order to be released, you actually stay energetically connected to this person. You stay energetically stuck. These feelings, these emotions, they have to come up in order to be released. Okay, reason number 2 why you're still obsessing, it's actually a chemical addiction, okay? So this one, this is fascinating, right? Because it was actually life-changing when I found about this. But being in love or having those feelings of being validated, admired, things like that, it quite literally floods your brain with dopamine and oxytocin. So when that bond is broken, your brain goes into withdrawal. And this can relate as well to, the whole breadcrumbing thing. This is what I mean by like validation, admiration. They give. And then they ghost you. But then they give you a little bit more. So you're getting that hit, you're getting that fix of dopamine, oxytocin, then it's taken away from you. So you go into a withdrawal and you actually become addicted. So whether this is a situationship that's in and out of your life, or whether this is the long-term relationship that all of a sudden has been taken away from you, you become like an addict. You are craving the substance. So in that, you crave your ex, the person who gave you that dopamine hit, who gave you that oxytocin hit. You crave their voice, their validation, the routine of that connection that you had with them. So yeah, every time you check their Instagram or reread old text, you get that tiny little bit of dopamine, you get that hit again. So that then further reinforces that cycle, which is keeping you hooked. So honestly, I'm telling you now, it's not that you still love them. It's not. It's actually that your brain is addicted to that chemical reward. Mind-blowing or what, right? But it's true. And I hope that some of this is really starting to hit home with you and make sense for you, because the more that I've looked into these different things and along my healing journey, whether that be through my divorce or relationships that I've had since then, even friendship breakdowns, it's very interesting when you look into this effect that it actually has on your mind, body and soul. We are all connected in that way. So even when situations are so very different that we've been through, we still experience a lot of the similar feelings. So like I mentioned, I still had certain feelings that came up, whether that be through the breakdown of my marriage, but also the end of a toxic relationship or the end of a friendship. And this is where I'm saying, often we can relate so much to other people. And that's one of the reasons that I've created the masterclass, which I'm doing as a group format, because we can relate to other people. Our stories can be so unique and so individualized, but a lot of the thoughts and feelings and emotions are still so very similar. So together on that collaborative approach, we can heal, we can empower, and we can push through this together. Anyway, on to reason number 3. Reason number 3 why you're still obsessed, and that is the stories that we tell ourselves, okay? Now, this is another big one, because you might be telling yourself stories like, and we've all been there, so again, no judgment. They were the only person who ever really knew me. You heard that? Have you felt that one before? Heard that one? I'll never find anyone else who makes me feel that way. If I could have just done something differently, we'd still be together now. These are just some examples, and I've been there too. I would replay these stories through my mind again and again and again. I'm never going to meet someone. They were the dream man. If only I'd have known, I could have done things, I could have made things work, These are the stories that are keeping you tied to the past though, okay? That's a fact. These stories that are going through your mind again and again and again, it is just keeping you tied to the past, because your subconscious mind, that doesn't care whether the story makes you happy. It wants to keep you in the familiar, okay? So whether a story makes you happy or sad or however you may be feeling, it focuses on the familiar, and it will just keep on taking you back there again and again and again. Now, at this point, this is just something that I want to share with you, because I want to be super, super honest in that time does definitely help. Time heals. It's a well-known saying, and it's definitely true. But time alone doesn't necessarily heal what you refuse to process. So if you just have all this time but don't actually put the work in, it's not going to make any difference whatsoever. We need to acknowledge what is happening within. So if you keep those same thoughts, those same patterns, those same beliefs, if you keep on checking their socials, if you keep on replaying what if, but actually time's gone on and you think, oh, time's just healing, a year from now, I promise you now, you'll still be in the same place emotionally. You won't have healed, you won't have moved on. You'll still be obsessively stuck on them and energetically connected. And you are literally just sabotaging yourself. So healing, it is very much an active process. So like I said before, we have to experience those different feelings, those thoughts, those emotions. They have to come up in order to be released. But with that, it requires that awareness, that intention, rewriting your patterns. Healing is an active process. We can't just sit in our bed and fast forward time to 6 months from now and everything's a-okay. That's not the case. But the good news is that you absolutely have the power to heal, to be active in that process. You really, really do. So just a couple of steps now I think is important to speak about as to how we can break that obsession, because we can literally start this today. You can start doing this today. You can start today shifting out of this cycle of obsession. So step number 1, it's got to be a digital detox, okay? Now, this is really, really hard, but it is so life-changing. I swear to God, it really, really is. So if you've still got them on social media, you might want to unfollow them or mute them, okay? Dependent upon the relationship, the dynamics, things like that, if it is not appropriate to unfollow, then definitely to mute, okay? You don't need to be seeing their posts. They don't need to be seeing yours. You are keeping an energetic cord, an energetic connection when you still have each other on social media. I'm of course going to say unfollow, and do you know what, block if you need to. But if you're not quite ready for that step yet, because that is a huge step, at least mute. Okay, you cannot heal whilst you are constantly picking that scab, whilst you are constantly checking on their social media. You are remaining energetically connected. Okay, so definitely, if nothing else, at least mute them. But ideally, you want to be unfollowing and block if dependent upon the situation, if that's essential, then yes, 100%. So step number 2, we've got to replace that ritual. Okay, we've got to replace that ritual of them being in our lives. So if you are, for example, always checking their profile when you wake up or go to bed, we've got to replace that habit. Okay, so we've just unfollowed or muted this person or whatever. What can we do what can we do instead? Yeah, so if you do know, for example, like I said, that it's in the morning or at night or whatever, you've got to make a habit replacement here. So that could be listening to a podcast, maybe this one, I'm just saying. It could be doing a little guided meditation, just 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Write in your journal 5 things that you're grateful for, or do a full script, offload all of your feelings and emotions. Do a little bit of a brain dump, These are just a couple of ideas. There's so many more out there as well. What sparks you? What lights you up? What sparks you? What are those little things that you can do in that moment? Okay, so in this, when we're thinking about this, it's not anything big. It's just something in those day-to-day kind of rituals. And honestly, the brain, as we've said before, with like the routine and things, it just loves being in the comfort of routine. It loves rituals. So when you break the old ones, you do open space for new patterns, okay? If you stop doing that and move on to something else, that will become the new norm. That will become the new comfort. That will become a positive new habit and ritual for you, okay? Next step, reconnecting to you. And this is always going to come up for me, okay? Because this is what I am all about. It's coming back home to yourself, reconnecting to your truest, most aligned, authentic version of yourself. You have spent so much energy thinking about this person, okay? But who were you before them? Because they've not always been in your life, or maybe they have it. Like if this is a relationship in your like family, like a mother, father, this is a little bit different. But this particular episode is focusing in on a romantic relationship, a partner. So this person hasn't always been in your life. Who were you before they came into your life? What did you love doing? And go and freaking do those things. Maybe you used to love going swimming or going on brunch dates with the girls. Maybe you've stopped that creative habit that you had of painting, drawing. Maybe you've stopped horse riding. Maybe you've not been going to the gym as much. All these certain things. Like, what did you love doing before they came into your life? And go and freaking do them. Yeah? What parts of you did you abandon in that relationship? Because we've all done it. We have all done it. Again, what little things did you let slide? Maybe that was about your mindset and personal development, or maybe it was spending time with family and friends. Maybe it was quality time with yourself, reading a book in the bath, whatever that may be. What parts of yourself did you abandon? Maybe you dressed differently, did your makeup differently, didn't pamper you, didn't get your hair done as often, whatever it may be. Think about that. And then with all that, when it comes to reconnecting back to ourselves, what would your happiest, most grounded self do today? As I mentioned in the last episode about confidence, what would that version of you do? How would she show up? What habits and routines and hobbies and interests would she have? How would she feel? What would she be doing today? And go and do it. Embody that version of yourself that you want to become. And with that, again, when we look back to reconnecting to ourselves and This is where journaling can really, really come into play and make a huge, huge difference of reconnecting back to that soul self, that aligned, most authentic version of you, because your subconscious literally takes over when you do some journaling. So maybe a little prompt could be, what would my life look like if I fully let go of this story? Write that down. I'm going to repeat that. What would my life look like if I fully let go of this story? I want you to journal on that whenever you get time today, maybe today, tonight, before bed. And really, really think and let your subconscious take over. Just put that pen to paper and let it just write on out everything that it needs to. Just do a little bit of a brain dump and you'll be surprised what really, really comes up. Your soul knows you better than anyone, better than yourself, right? And sometimes it takes that connection to opening up that channel to fully, to actually listen, to take on board, and then to act from that. So they are just a couple of examples of things that you can do today to start shifting out of this cycle, because, just reminding you again that just time alone isn't going to be the heal. You have to act. You have to take that action, okay? And just again, going back to those reasons as to why you could be obsessed, it's the stories that you are telling yourselves, that chemical addiction, those unprocessed emotions. Can you see how they all tie in? Can you see how it all just makes so much sense? And this is why we have to act. We have to intentionally put ourselves into that healing process, onto that healing journey, to move on, to stop obsessing over them, to create the life that you truly do deserve. It's not just going to come to you. You're not just going to wake up one morning and be healed and have your dream life waiting in front of you. Do you know what? That'd be so freaking easy, and I wish that was the case. I really, really do. I wish that was the case for me too. But that's not how it happens. And realistically, I promise you now, there will be a time in future where you will look back on this and understand exactly why you had to go through what you went through. The experience will have built your character, will have created some resilience within you, this unshakable confidence. It will have created this version of you who you are becoming right now through this experience. You may not see it right now, depending upon where you are at on your journey. You may not see that light at the end of the tunnel. But I promise you, without a shadow of a doubt, this will all make sense, whether that be in 6 months or 6 years. The answers will come to you, and you'll laugh, you'll look back at this time and you will laugh at how far you have come and what you went through, but the person that it created you to be. I just kind of want to leave you with this before we close this today, because I think it's important to know that what you are going through right now, you are not meant to live in this limbo, replaying the past stories, checking in on the ex, questioning what is to come in my future, and is this the end of me? You're not meant to live in this limbo period. You don't need to stay here. You deserve peace, you deserve joy, and you deserve to feel like yourself again. And you can get that, because while this process, I get it can feel really, really overwhelming. It honestly can, and it's a big job, and with that, again, there'll be ups and downs. You'll feel like you are killing it one day and absolutely losing at life the next. You could have an amazing week where you're like, oh my gosh, that's it, I've made it, I'm over them, I've moved on. And then this thought or this smell or this sound or something that someone says will hit you like a ton of bricks, and you'll feel like you're going backwards again, but you're not. This is all part of the journey, and I know that it can feel overwhelming, but you don't have to do it alone. Yeah, you've got me here. You can listen to me in my podcast all the time, but if you are ready to break free from the past and feel like you again, remember I said about the masterclass. We can get you back in the next 30 days or less. I promise you that. With my masterclass, I aim to get you back and to get you back enjoying life again and having a future to look forward to and to feel excited again. So be sure to check my Instagram, and that's where I'll have all the details on You Deserve Better podcast. Get signed up to the masterclass. Be sure to hop on live if you can, or there will be replays. But I'm here for you every step of the way. Keep an eye out. But in the meantime, be gentle with yourself because you are healing, even if it doesn't really feel like it. So in those moments where you are crying or you are angry or you feel like you're going backwards, that is the healing too. It may not feel like it, but it is. These thoughts and feelings, they have to come up in order to be released. You are healing even when you feel like you are going backwards, even when you feel like life is falling apart. So I think that concludes today's episode. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for spending this time with me today. I really hope that this episode resonated with you. And if it did, be sure to share it on your stories, to tag me, send it to someone else who may need it today as well. Also, don't forget, if you haven't already, it would mean so much to me if you could please drop a rating or a review, drop a comment, give it a like, be sure to hit follow. It helps this message that I'm trying to get out to as many women as possible. It helps with that reach, and together we are able to heal and empower each other and move on this journey together. So it would honestly truly mean the world to me if you could spread the love, send the message, share my podcast, comment, like, follow, you know the score. And I will leave it there for today. I am sending you so much love. I hope you're having a beautiful day and have a beautiful week. And I'll talk to you real soon.